Regenerative agriculture focuses on rebuilding organic matter and living biodiversity in soil, which produces increasingly nutrient-dense foods year after year while rapidly sequestering excess atmospheric carbon underground to reverse climate change. During the last century, the rise of chemical-based agriculture has dramatically changed the way that we produce our food. Farms are saturated with artificial fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides that are encouraged to reduce the burden of labor while keeping crop yields high. It kills insects while controlling weeds. However, attempting to kill these pests and weeds to bolster plant production, the chemicals used in agriculture have inadvertently attacked friendly troops in the soil jungle while failing to recognize the unintended consequences of conventional chemical-based farming practices. Soil health degradation, loss of organic matter and erosion, as well as water pollutant toxic residues in our food supply, lacks the biodiversity of these unintended consequences, and the effects are severe. If we continue down this path, there will soon come a time when our soil will be unable to feed our children and our grandchildren. Thankfully, despite these very real dangers, positive transformation is possible. The price of growing food this way is dramatically altering the natural recycling processes required in nature, and the downstream effects on human health are mounting. Increased commercialized farming embraces monocropping and has been dependent on chemical pesticides and fertilizers, resulting higher profit margins and greater output, but the consequences is that we are still reaping the seeds we have sown by industrializing our agricultural system. Our planet is in crisis, and glyphosate is one of the primary culprits. It is wiping out essential biodiversity across the globe and depleting the soil in which our food is grown. Approximately 13 billion pounds of this chemical is used every year around the world, disrupting biological life at a staggering rate. It has infiltrated our food, our water, our air, and even our rainfall. And it continues to go unregulated, contributing a combination of genetic, neurological, autoimmune, and metabolic injuries that underpin the collapse of health in our children and adults. Farmers use over 3 million tons of pesticides annually worldwide. GMO byproducts degrade and deplete soil of vital minerals and beneficial bacteria, both of which protect crops from pests, viruses, and other threatening elements. Glyphosate, which is used in conjunction with GMO seeds, does not biodegrade, which means it is continually accumulating in the environment without restraint, perpetually altering soil composition and contaminating natural resources. What we put into the soil is toxic. What we get out is toxic. Humans are declining energy metabolically, survival of the most adaptable. You are what you eat. GMO crops in Canada are corn, canola, soy, sugar beets, and imported to Canada are cottonseed oil, papaya, squash, and milk products. 1 in 36 children are now diagnosed with autism compared to a mere 1 in 5,000 in the 70s. 1 in 3 children are obese or overweight. 60% of their first year of life will develop type 1 diabetes. 30% sugar is in cereal boxes, and cereal stores as fat. We produce 150 to 200% more food than we actually need, and 15 to 25% of food bought for home is wasted. Every single person who makes the investment to educate can reach optimal health and function, becoming an epicenter for change in our collapsing health system. Longevity is no longer our primary concern. Survival is now the question. Restoring humanity's relationship with food will help heal the earth. Make simple changes of food that have positive impact on your health. We increase our use of glyphosate and other pesticides at the same time as the disease crisis began to grow. We now know that the last century of monocropping farming and pesticide use has disrupted and sterilized once fertile soils. Now an increase in 2 main trends, a dramatic increase in both physical disease like cancer and diabetes, and in mental health concerns such as ADD and depression. It is time to realize that pesticides are antibiotics themselves. Antibiotics that are killing what is left of the good bacteria and biodiverse microbiomes in both our soil and in our physical bodies. The most pressing concern pertaining to the chronic disease outbreak is that it generally cannot be prevented by vaccines or cured by medications, nor does it just disappear. So if the causal effects are not addressed, then the massive health crisis will continue to grow without much end in sight. We need to dramatically change the way we think about farming and the way we think about disease and prepare our food if we are to effectively solve this crisis. We are organic beings, earthlings. Food is energy and can be nutritious and delicious. There is no quick or trendy fix for this, but rather long-term and holistic remedies like regenerative farming that need to become the norm. The health of tomorrow depends on the solutions we employ today. We are in this together. Learn what type of food safety regulations the FDA approval process allows to pass, as they are still importing ingredients from unsafe sources. In addition, our farming practices have completely changed in the last 70 years, and the results are catastrophic. The organic industry is not as trustworthy as it appears. Modern agricultural practices are actively breeding infection. The changes in our diet are especially hazardous to our children, who are getting sick with autoimmune and inflammatory diseases at a younger age. This needs to stop. We need to be able to identify trustworthy information about GMOs and how our food is grown, handled, and distributed. This is a quote from the United Nations. A healthy planet means fewer disease. Any positive environmental impact in the wake of this pandemic must therefore be in changing our production and consumption habits toward being cleaner and greener. Changes in temperature, humidity, and seasonality directly affect the survival of microbes in the environment, and evidence suggests that disease epidemics will become more frequent and the climate continues to change. Humanity's expression on the terrestrial Earth surface means that today human activity has altered almost 75% of the Earth's surface, squeezing wildlife and nature into a small corner of the planet, and yet nature is critical to our own survival. Nature provides us with oxygen, it regulates weather patterns, pollinates our crops, produces our food, feed, and fiber, but is under increasing stress. The wild must be kept wild. It is time to restore forests, stop deforestation, invest in the management of protected areas, and propel markets for deforestation-free products. We need to do a far better job of improving hygiene conditions. And of course, there is the urgent need to tackle the legal and illegal wild trade, a crime committed worldwide. The better we manage nature, the better we manage human health. Keeping nature richly diverse and flourishing is extremely important in our own life support system, because the health of people and the health of the planet are one and the same, and both can thrive in equal measures. That was a quote from the United Nations. Who is responsible for the health and safety of future generations? Whose job is it to protect the environment and ensure that our children's children are able to enjoy the benefits of clean air, fresh water, and healthy soil that grows nutritious and sustainable food? It's ours, collectively. We deserve to have a choice as to what we put in our bodies, and it is up to us to protect that right. The way we operate out in the environment directly affects the way our individual bodies function. Monsanto, the leading producer of GMO seeds and the chemicals they're engineered to resist, is involved not only in the food industry, but in military technology, specifically chemical warfare. They've now aimed this chemical warfare at agricultural, the crowning achievement being Roundup or glyphosate. Monsanto then created a variety of genetically modified seeds that specifically resist Roundup. This has created a toxic cycle of GMO seeds and chemical use that is harming us today. Tampering with delicate systems, from the balance of minerals and bacteria in our bodies to the complex web of life that sustains the environment. These ramifications will ripple through for future generations. The rise in autism, diabetes, ADHD, Alzheimer's, celiac disease, kidney cancer, and many other diseases have very closely correlated with the rise of Roundup use. As Roundup resistant GMOs become more common, and as we ingest more and more of these toxic pesticides, these diseases and neurological disorders are increasing as well. Once a poisonous chemical like Roundup is in your body, it kills bacteria indiscriminately, interrupting the delicate balance that keeps you healthy. Not only that, it also kills soil bacteria that would normally help maintain balance in our bodies. We can't leave our children a world that is being ruined by toxic chemicals. We encourage you to restore your health and vitality and live the best life you can. Over time, organic farming can actually renew, restore, and regenerate the health of our impoverished soil and mitigate the effects of climate change. Out of the hundreds of products at our disposal, only 10 major corporations manufacture the bulk of what we purchase and consume. For example, orange soda, potato chips, Kraft, Coca-Cola, Nestle, PepsiCo, Johnson & Johnson, Mars, Danone, General Mills, and Kellogg's. Ox Family International created a comprehensive infographic that reveals the extensive reach of the Big 10 food and beverage companies. This shows how easy it is to be misinformed about the food system. For example, PepsiCo produces Quaker granola bars, Nestle makes Kit Kat bars as well as frozen California pizza kitchen pies, and Barq's root beer is canned in the Coca-Cola factory. Massive corporations squash entrepreneur diversity and make it nearly impossible for startups as well as small businesses to compete. They have a lot of power, but we have more. We can use ours to change the way they do business. Helping to avoid contributing to the Big 10 world takeover, shop at local farmers markets and skip out on soda and highly processed food altogether. Your body will thank you for it in the long run anyway.